Once upon a time, nestled in the heart of a forgotten valley, there was a small village called Roshni. The name, meaning light in the local language, was ironically lost on the people who lived there, for their days were as dark as the dirt roads beneath their feet. Poverty was a shadow that stretched long and deep, touching every home, every heart. Children ran barefoot along those dusty roads, their laughter echoing in the vast emptiness that surrounded them. Farmers with weather-beaten faces tilled the cracked land, hoping for a meager harvest. Hope itself seemed to have abandoned this place. But even in the darkest corners, the faintest ember of hope can glow. And in Roshni, that ember burned in the heart of a young man named Arif. Every evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Arif would sit under the old banyan tree at the village center. Its wide, gnarled branches had seen generations come and go. It had sheltered countless dreams, hopes, and stories. And now it cradled Arif's own aspirations for his village. He dreamed of a place where children went to schools instead of begging on street corners, where families had enough to eat, and where the streets were lit with lanterns instead of darkness. He dreamed of a day when Roshni would shine brightly, not just in name, but in reality. But his dreams were often met with laughter. Dreaming won't fill our stomachs, Arif, the villagers would say, their words sharp with the bitterness of their circumstances. Hope is a luxury we can't afford. Yet, Arif held on to his dreams. He knew that change was needed, not just wished for. So he began small, reaching out to the one thing that bound their lives together. The river. It ran near the village, once a lifeline, but now choked with waste and neglect. Its banks were littered with debris, its waters stagnant and polluted. It was a grim reflection of the state of their lives. But Arif saw a glimmer of hope in its battered form. He organized the villagers, men, women, and even children, to clean the river. They cleared the waste, dug canals, planted trees, and sang songs of hope as they worked. Slowly, the river began to revive. Lush, green fields replaced the cracked earth. Mango, papaya, and banana trees swayed in the gentle breeze. The air was filled with the sweet scent of blossoms and the promise of a better life. As the river flowed, so did the hope in their hearts. Then Arif reached out beyond the river, beyond their village. He wrote letters to organizations in the nearby town, pleading for help. When letters came back with kind words but no funds, he walked the long, dusty road to the town. He talked to investors, showing them the fertile land and the hard-working people of Roshni. He convinced a few of them to teach the villagers modern farming techniques and set up small markets for their goods. Slowly, like the tendrils of a climbing vine, changes began to take root in Roshni. People who had left the village in search of work began to return. They built small shops, a school, and even a clinic. The dusty roads were repaired, and the banyan tree stood proudly in the center of the village square, a silent witness to their progress. Years rolled by like the seasons, each bringing its own hues to the canvas of Roshni's transformation. The village that was once synonymous with poverty and despair was now a thriving hub of activity. The children who had once begged on the streets now ran to school with books in their hands. The market buzzed with activity, showcasing the fruits of their labor. The school echoed with the sound of learning. And the clinic, once a distant dream, now hummed with the quiet efficiency of healthcare workers. One day, an outsider visited Roshni. He strolled through the bustling streets, marveling at the city that had sprung up in the place of a poverty-stricken village. "How did this happen?" he asked, his voice echoing the sentiment of everyone who had ever known Roshni. An elderly woman, her eyes crinkled at the corners from a lifetime of smiling, sat on a nearby bench. She looked at the old banyan tree, its branches heavy with the weight of years and dreams. "It all started right here," she said, her voice raspy but strong, with one person who refused to believe that poverty was the end of our story. "Dreams planted here grew into reality because we dared to act together." Arif, standing among the very streets he had dreamed of, heard her words. He smiled, his heart swelling with pride. Change begins with hope, he thought, but it flourishes with courage, unity, and persistence. And as the sun set over Roshni, bathing the city in hues of gold and crimson, Arif knew that they had not just changed their lives. They had changed the very definition of their village, proving that even the darkest night can be followed by the brightest dawn.